Welcome to Cat the Minion YouTube channel. I'm going to sneeze. It's a little book dust there. Welcome to Cat the Minion YouTube channel. My name is Teresa, but you can call me Cat. This is going to be an energy report related to the Three of Swords. But I just wanted to show you guys that I have put out some Halloween decorations. Now, it's been a few years, it's been like 5 years since I painted this plastic cat skeleton. It was a black skeleton, and this copper and like blue-green nail polish that I put on here is flaking off. I don't know if it's because I was really rough with it when I put it in my box of stuff, but I'm going to have to get some more nail polish and fix that at some point when it starts looking really craptastic. So anyway, I just wanted to show that before I threw these books down here. This is what we're going to be using. I had to prepare documents for this energy report. Dusty old books. Okay. So what I have here, this green book is just for show. I'm not actually going to use it, but it feels naked without it. So I have this Sanskrit reader from when I was in college, when I took 2 semesters of Sanskrit. This is the book that I need. And I have this Webster's Dictionary from the 70s that I sort of acquired from my parents. And I have 2 different song lyrics printed out. And I have a bunch of cards over here that I had to pull, specifically out of a bunch of decks. So what I've got here is also somebody sawing stuff in the background, which is awesome. Let me move this in. I guess that's pretty good. That way I can see and it's not directly in front of me. Oh, I was looking for my Naphthol Crimson. It was behind my can of air. I was like, where the fuck? Okay. So this is going to be related to heart chakra issues and clearing. Specifically related to the Three of Swords. So I have got the Three of Swords here. This is the Wild Unknown Tarot here. And this Three of Swords in particular, because this is the one I saw when I had to picture one. So what we see wrapped around these 3 swords is essentially the heartstrings. It's the sinews. Right? It's like the heart is so ripped to shreds that all it's left is just a ribbon of flesh that these swords are tangled up in. Right? This makes it seem like it's going to be a lot harder to pull these out. Right? It's like the only thing holding what's left of your heart together is the pain. And if you pulled the swords out, it would just rip everything to shreds, and you would probably die of literal heartache. That's one thing too, is that like when they say that somebody's like their pet or their spouse or their child dies, and then they die, when people say they died of heartache, it's like a factual thing that a certain amount, like an overindulgence of grief, let's put it that way, an overwhelming amount of grief can actually cause like muscle fibers in your heart to snap. So that's what heartbreak, they call it. This is the traditional Three of Swords, right? It's like a cushion, they're just stuck in there. But I just wanted to show this for comparison. This is from the Morgan Greer Tarot. Morgan Greer. Alright, so this is what we're looking at. Now, when I was trying to do some heart clearing last night, I realized that the tension I was feeling in my chest that I needed to release was set up in this pattern, right? I have this tension down the breastbone, and then I could feel the tension down like diagonally in the chest muscles going right into the core, like right behind the breastbone, to the point where it was like, I'm like, am I having a heart attack? Why is my pulse up so much? Why can't I take a deep breath? And it's almost like there was like a flap stuck, where I couldn't take a deep breath. So I was listening to some meditations, I had some music on, I had watched a couple tarot readings, and somewhere in the interim, when I sort of wandered off the script and was in my own thoughts, I heard the smoke clears on the horizon. I think at that point I was watching a tarot video, and it happened to mention the Three of Wands, even though I was working on meditating on the Three of Swords. And I was like, oh, the Three of Wands, like, my future's opening up. Like, my ships are going to come in, is like the opposite of the Three of Swords. Like, if this was inverted and these swords are just going to slide out now because of gravity, that's the opposite of the pain, is now I can look forward to the future. But normally I see the Three of Swords and the Three of Cups as being opposites. Because, like, normally I see Cups and Swords as opposites. So 9 Cups inverted is the same as 9 Swords, and vice versa. But that's not necessarily the case. Because I was thinking, oh, well, and I'll come back to this, but normally I see Pentacles and Wands as opposites, and Swords and Cups as opposites. But what I actually came to was this idea that the Three of Swords in a challenge position is the Three of Wands in some way. Or it would actually be the Three of Wands in the challenge position is equivalent to the Three of Swords in the challenge position. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So I heard the smoke clears on the horizon. That's what I heard. And I was like, ooh, what is that song? And then I forgot about it for a while. And I was like, oh, it's Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. But that's not the right lyric. It's a distant ship, smoke on the horizon. But let's take a look at this Three of Wands. So this is the Syrian Starseed Tarot. Okay, so the Three of Wands here, and we have a person looking into the horizon, into the future here, possibly the sunrise, and it's smoky, but there's no water. And I looked through like 4 or 5 decks for the Three of Wands, because I always see it as somebody near the water, and they're looking out for the ship to come in, and there's 3 ships just kind of sitting on the horizon, and every single card was somebody looking out into the desert. I was like, what? Where's that coming from? But then I remembered that the one with the ships in the background is actually the Two of Pentacles. There's a ship there, and there's a ship there. There's only 2 in this picture. But this is the Two of Pentacles. This is a mini Rider-Waite. So I'm like, well, what does the Two of Pentacles have to do? But I came to this idea that the only card I could think of that was Three of Wands that actually has ships in it and somebody at the water is from the not the Gilded Reverie, the Legacy of the Divine Tarot here. All right, Three of Wands with an airship, and there's actually water, and there's a sunrise, and there's clouds clearing. But I did realize that I do have a connection between these two cards. The Two of Pentacles and this Three of Wands. So in this deck, this is the Two of Pentacles. Right? We have this kid on a penny, is that a penny farthing? It's a penny farthing that's set up like a unicycle. It doesn't have handlebars. But he's treading the water. He's not just here. So it's like this machine with this pulley system is essentially this bicycle unit here. And he's rolling between two wheels, basically. Even though he's holding the pentacles in his hands. He's still dressed up kind of like a fool, though. But it made me think of this deck. This is my bicycle deck. It's a pinnacle deck. And I've got it marked for use with twin flames, right? DM and DF, because there's two sets of cards in it. This is just a random extra card that was in there, but it's got this King of Swords riding a penny farthing. And because it reminded me of this, I decided that this is going to be Two of Pentacles as an extra card in that deck. Because there's no twos in the Pinnacle deck. It's 9 through Ace. There's a blank card that I wrote a couple other things on too. It was like 8 of Wands and Ludicrous Speed. So the opposite of this card I've written on it is Serpents Upon My Dirigible. And this, when it comes inverted, because it is a dirigible, makes me think Serpents Upon My Dirigible. So for me, there is a connection between the Three of Wands and the Two of Pentacles. But I'm looking at this, and it's Jupiter in Capricorn. Because I kept thinking, well, why is the Two of Pentacles coming up when I'm dealing with the Three of Swords? Or even the Three of Wands? Right? We have Jupiter and Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, are retrograding in Aquarius. Right? They're retrograding. I also keep getting the phrase beating the grass to startle the snakes lately. Where it's like so tired of dealing with people's crap. It's just like, you know what? I'm going to take control and I'm going to do this and I'm going to see what happens. And if they do what if they do what I think they're going to do, it's like I have the power in the situation and I can sort of control my destiny that way. It's not like I'm instigating more problems. It's like I've backed people's bullshit into their corner so I can close the gate and they can't get back in. So I'm going to come back to that, but what I want to do, should also point out that the Three of Wands is the Sun in Aries, and if it's going to be inverted, it tells me Moon energy. But if it's sideways, it tells me Moon and Sun, which is an eclipse. I'm not sure if there's a specific eclipse in particular, but the full moon in Aries is happening in October, right after all of these retrogrades go direct. So this Two of Pentacles is going to be in motion during October, which is coming right up. And if you don't feel that pre-shadow of the retrogrades going direct, you should be feeling it in a hot minute. And then the Three of Swords. Saturn in Libra. So there's that air element, even though it's not specifically Aquarius, but this idea of being in this balancing out, right? A balancing act of coming up to some kind of level of judgment or justice. Justice in particular, because justice is Libra energy, right? We're working out justice in lower vibrations, and the Three of Swords is definitely a lower vibration. We have that Saturn energy again. Okay. So, ooh, my chair's coming apart. I gotta get some wood glue. So I'm going to come back to all of that in a second, but what I wanted to talk about in particular having to do with the heart. Okay. So I need the dictionary, and I've got it tabbed here. See if I can get this better. Camera. One of these days I'll have camera equipment that is easier to use. Oh, I got a headache. Okay. So heart. So I did look this up online because I didn't know what all these little abbreviations were. So it says Middle English heart, Old English hart, akin to German Herz, Indo-European base, cared, or creed, with a K, meaning heart, and then Latin cor, which is more like chords, like the heartstrings, like the chords. I don't know what gen means here, but it says cordis, or generally maybe, cordis, and Greek cardia. But when I looked it up online, it said Greek, it said, was it kier? Yeah, it was kier. Greek kier and then cardia. But creed does sound an awful lot like kier, like K-E-R, but with a long E. But when I took Sanskrit, the word heart is in Sanskrit. And I had remembered it as hrit, like H trilled R and then T, but I remembered that incorrectly because it actually had a D on it. But D and T are not that different. So let's look at Sanskrit. The Sanskrit reader here. Okay. So just sort of a side note in between this, when I went flipping through these pages in the some words and meanings, where is it? I just happened to notice on this side it said ha or hey, like H-A. It says exclamation of pain or astonishment. And I think it's like, whence cometh ha 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 of laughter. I thought that was funny. Made me laugh inside myself to myself. Okay, so over here, Creed, H with this trilled R and D. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right because it's got a little accent on it. So we have Creed. So it's heart, noun, especially as seat of the emotions and of mental activity in general. Also properly region of the heart, see under Shrad. So if I'm talking about mental activity and the seat of the emotions, that looks an awful lot like this card. And we're dealing with the heart chakra. And we have this Sanskrit root here. I just want to say that I took Sanskrit in college because that's the oldest language I could get my hands on. So if I go over here to Shrad, which is, I'm assuming how that's pronounced. Where'd it go? It's on, oh, here, Shrad. Maybe it's Shrad. It says Indek Glow, which I don't know what that means. Come on. Okay. So meaning perhaps originally heart, used with da or day maybe, grant and give, and dot of person and thus. But it says stuff like give your heart to him, gives, etc., trust, and so on. So basically, this idea coming out of this word has to do with heart and relating to trust and how you relate your heart to other people. I'm just saying Shrad because it's a C with the little CD on it. Like in French, when they're like Francois with the little CD on it. It looks like a little number 5 attached to the bottom if you haven't seen that before. So it says over here, it says Greek with stuff that I can't read because I don't know Greek. It says Latin core, cordis, Lithuanian, which looks like Shirdis, which I'm not sure, German Herz, English heart. So, and then it also says Latin credere, trust, which might be where we get credentials, but I'm not sure. It says the regular Sanskrit word for heart is hrid, and this cannot be connected with the above words since they require in the Sanskrit an initial CCD, which would be shrid or shrad. Or shrade, because I'm not sure how that's supposed to be said. So, because of the way the language works, even though the root word is hrid with heart, with the ha sound, the heart, the H sound, even in common use, it had to be changed to that CCD sound. So, I don't know what that's called in English because I only learned what it's called in French. Like when they have the accent aigu and the accent grave, I don't know what it's called in English. And some of the participles, I don't know what they're called in English either. Which actually made it really hard for me when I took Sanskrit because the teacher was always talking about the participles and the tenses. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about unless you tell me what they are in French. Like the plus que parfait and the future anterior. It's like I didn't understand what they were in English because I was never taught them in English. So when I went to learn this other language over here and the guy was saying the parts of the tenses in English, I got confused. So anyway, that's what's going on with that. So that was just to point out, for some reason I had to talk about the origin. But if we're looking at the origin, it's very much to do not only with emotions and thought, which is, it's sort of pointing out that emotional intelligence sits in the heart. And I would expect that the speakers and writers of Sanskrit understood that there's neurons in the heart, which might be why we have this emotional thing. So when I'm going back to what I was talking about when I heard the smoke clears on the horizon, which looks like this card, but is not the actual lyric, right? We're dealing with, I'm recognizing that I'm in pain, because these are actually in the challenge position, and I'm trying to get my future to come in, but it's like I can't step into where I'm going if I'm still tied to this baggage, right? I need to cut loose. I need to pull up anchor. I need to cut what's tied to the dock, right? I'm gonna take out, it's like I can't take out my paddle boat and figure out what I'm gonna throw overboard or not if I'm still tied up, right? I can't just hem and haw about what's been going on and turn my back to where I need to be heading. And also see this hat is friggin' huge. Not only does it look phallic, it's like, wow, this guy's a real dickhead, right? But it's there's a crown chakra activation. The more I look at that, the more phallic it gets. So the lyrics that I misheard or were fed wrong or something, even though I heard the smoke clears on the horizon, it's a little bit of like smoke on the water, fire in the sky. But I'm going to read you a select portion of these comfortably numb lyrics. And I printed them out so I wouldn't have to be sitting in front of my computer, and I had selected the pieces I'm going to read already. So it says, is there anybody in there? Just nod if you can hear me. Is there anyone home? Come on now. I hear you're feeling down. Well, I can ease your pain, get you on your feet again. Relax, I'll need some information first, just the basic facts. Can you show me where it hurts? It's like right here. There is no pain, you are receding, a distant hip. Oh my God. There is no pain, you are receding, a distant ship, smoke on the horizon. You are only coming through in waves. So this is this makes me think that there's a mirage, right? You're only coming through in waves. This is a mirage. Like, this isn't real. I'm like, yeah, I'm not in pain. I'm just kind of hanging out here. It's like, why bother doing something? Because this dream I have isn't going to change this sort of denial of pain, right? So at the end of the song here, it says, your lips move, but I can't hear what you're saying. When I was a child, I caught a fleeting glimpse out of the corner of my eye. I turned to look, but it was gone. I cannot put my finger on it now. The child is grown. The dream is gone. I have become comfortably numb. Right? It's like what you wanted to do when you were little. You had all these hopes and dreams, and then you get more and more jaded, more and more tied down, more and more strings and rubber bands until the whole system just collapses, right? What happens if you keep putting rubber bands on a watermelon? Eventually it's gonna burst, and you better have goggles on when it does. Now, when I was pulling these other cards to get this chain link, this is just to show what the normal card looks like, right? Because right. This is okay. We've got this watermelon propped up, and now we're gonna put all these bands on it. So what happens is there's just a few sinews left, and the whole rest of it's exploded off. I'm gonna put this king over here too. So what happens when we have serpents upon the dirigible? Right? It's like people poisoning your future, intentionally stealing your energy, and the heartstrings just get tighter and tighter and tighter until everything just kind of explodes. But I did think of this other song. It's called When My Train Pulls In by Gary Clark Jr. If you haven't heard it, it's well worth it. So I've selected part of this song, and it's, every day nothing seems to change. Everywhere I go, I keep seeing the same old thing. And I can't take it no more. I would leave this town, but I ain't got nowhere else to go. I wake up in the morning to more bad news. And sometimes I feel like I was born to lose. It's driving me out of my mind. Gonna catch the next train, I'll move on down the line. Well, I'll be ready now. I'll be ready when my train pulls in. I'll be ready now. I'll be ready when my train pulls in. I know my time ain't long, and I can't live this life again. Okay? Now, I skipped some of the repeating words because of the rhythm of the song. But it's this... To me, it's this fight between, this sucks. I'm just going to go somewhere else. But that's like going on vacation from your problems and taking all your stress with you, right? It's baggage. In order to be ready when your train comes in, this kid here has no baggage. You don't see any luggage there, right? It's not, these entrails aren't dragging a 16-ton weight behind you. So the whole point is that. And also something else that I was thinking about in terms of visualizing. Okay? So when the swords are stuck in there, they create holes. And, you know, when we say, oh, we turn this card over, and the swords are just going to slide out, and then you'll be healed and it'll be fine. It's going to be the Ace of Swords, and you'll be living in your truth. Or the Ace of Cups, and you'll be emotionally abundant and all this. But what happens when you pull the swords out is you have these gaping wounds. You know, like you have a splinter in your hand and it might hurt, but pulling it out is going to hurt like a son of a bitch, right? You get a bullet in your leg and it hurts like hell when it gets dug out. You know, you get an arrowhead in there and you got to cut it out backwards. Or even something a little bit more common, you get a fishing lure with a fishing hook stuck in your hand, and that might hurt, but it's going to hurt like a son of a bitch when you pull that barb out, and then you're going to be bleeding and it's going to suck until you start healing from it. This is like, again, it's like the swords are the structure holding the thing together. When you pull them out, the whole thing wants to collapse because there's an exhaustion from dealing with this constant pain. It's like, you know, when you pull the tent poles out and the tent just flops to the ground. There needs to be like a reinflation, right? You want to pop it up like a bouncy house. So this sort of extreme tension, this like, oh my God, am I having a heart attack? Energetic feeling was from pulling the barbs out, right? It's like, I don't want someone else's energy vampire fangs dug into my heart energy anymore, and I'm gonna yank it out. Well, now I've got this gaping, festering wound that has to be blocked up, but it's still leaking energy out everywhere because there's this poison in there that's keeping the wound from closing up, right? It's like, you know, I got bit by a Komodo dragon and now my heart is rotting. You know, I got bit by a venomous snake. Can you suck out the poison? Otherwise, my leg's going to turn green and we're going to have to cut it off. You know, until you kind of call back your own energy and also like anti-call back other people's energy. It's not a matter of forgiveness, right? The act of forgiving people can end up being like a humble brag. It's not necessarily necessary. If it works for you, that's fine, but if you hate someone so much that you can't forgive them, the simplest thing to do is to say, your energy is not what I want, so I'm not going to be holding on to your energy anymore. You can have it back. I'm all good. Thanks for the loan. It didn't work out. You can have your interest back. If their interest is like toxic goo, that's their problem. Like, you don't have to take it just because they left it on you, right? So it's not only a matter of cutting cords and saying, I take back the energy that is mine and use it to repair the holes in my heart. I'm also going to take out your poison, right? You can imagine yourself like a jar, right? So imagine that you are this empty, actually it'd be better with this open one. I need stuff. Oh, okay, this is gonna work. Okay, so imagine that you are this vessel, and if you were gonna drink water, it would be fine. But there's this crusty dead hand in here that's someone else's toxic energy that's just in there. And if I fill this with water and I drink that water, this hand is gonna poison me over time. So all I want to do is just yeet this back into their energy field and be like, I don't want that. That's not me. And they can have their crusty, rotten hand back and, you know, put it where the sun don't shine. But you don't have to constantly be feeding off of their toxic energy or let them skip off with, you know, all of your pure mountain water either. So the concept of forgiving people always stressed me out more. But if you think of just, you know, my energy is round, I'm going to put it in the round hole, right? Round energy, round hole. Their energy is square. I'm not going to put their energy, right? Their energy is square. I'm not going to keep putting their square energy where my round energy goes. It's that simple. And those visualizations can help. Another way that I visualize this too is to imagine someone else has gotten like black sticky goop, tar all in there, right? So imagine if this was like a smoker's lung, right? It would be like sticky and black and everything. But imagine now if we put, if we scraped that, just scrape the whole thing, right? It's stainless steel. It's, we're going to get some sand in there and we're going to get whatever grit we need and scrape and suck and pull all of that goo out of there. That's another visualization I use to get other people's energy out of me. But we're looking specifically at the heart chakra here, and we're looking at this intense and deep, possibly going back, as with this Gary Clark Jr. song, to inner child work. But it's this decision. It's like I'm deciding to separate these two things. I'm like me and you tied together, my heart strings all knotted up in this crap. But what happens if I sever these two things? Now I can go over here and I don't have to drag you behind me like a 16-ton weight strapped to my ankle, right? We're not dealing with the old ball and chain here. That's not a healthy relationship, right? Who's that albatross around your neck? And it's like, it doesn't have to come in as malicious, right? You don't have to get them back. You don't have to tit for tat. You can just be like, I'm going to stand up for myself even if I have a panic attack. And I'm going to just disallow you to siphon off of me, to wound me and make me feel bad. All right, I'm going to feed into my heart center that energy which belongs to me and is mine and what it is too. And in that case, the smoke is going to clear. So it's like somebody has an invasive, it was like in Florida, they had all these Burmese pythons or whatever, and people had them as pets, and then they got big and they didn't want to take care of them, so they just let them out into the Everglades. And then somebody's got a freaking Burmese python in their toilet, and now, you know, the Fish and Game has to come and get them with that little like fork stick and grab them and stick them in the bag and take them somewhere to like a nature preserve or something. that Burmese python in your toilet is that energy that doesn't belong to you, and by having it removed no longer means you're going to have something unexpected you biting you on the ass and, you know, messing up your whole emotional mental outlook. So for me, the best way to deal with pulling the swords out and healing the giant gaping holes so that it stops hurting is to do the deep breathing, because you got to breathe, right? Because the lungs are right next to the heart chakra too. If you can't breathe and your chest is collapsing from tension, you've got to do heart chakra work. So you can do meditation music, you know, like heart chakra music, 432 hertz, 174 or whatever, you know, those different solfeggio frequencies. You can do a guided meditation. You might have to pick and choose till you get one that works for you. I had this one guy that was going on and on about forgiveness and we're doing this and we're doing that, and it just kind of annoyed me. Plus he also sounded like John Travolta, which I found really distracting. But going in and actually visualizing the heart chakra as a place, or your body as a glass vessel, should help clear that out. It should help distinguish between energies that are yours and that aren't. Or you could just imagine that you're actually unwinding this and coiling it back up into a heart shape. Any of those kinds of things. It might help identify what the major pain issue is. And if you do encounter your inner child, then you have a chance to, you know, speak to it kindly and take care of it and integrate it and all that, which is a separate issue. All right, so I'm going to leave this here. If you want to get a personal reading, I have, oh my god, I'm getting a headache. It's going to be available in the description box underneath here. I've got, I know that's not all the way in focus. Still not great. Well, I mean, I'm going to have this slide up after anyway. Everything is through my Linktree, linktr.ee/cattheminion, so that list of readings is going to be down below. There's a playlist that has samples of the readings that I offer. I have coloring books, dark poetry. You can email me for questions or to get a reading. I have merch and prints and actual art items. On Etsy, you can use coupon code 3star17 to get 17% off any three or more items. That's everything from like $3 to over 100. I've got PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. If this was helpful, you want to donate, energy exchange, hit that tip jar. I also have social media over here. You can come hang out with me and enjoy my rants, or when I'm actually funny, and see my posts. Like every Thursday, I do Throwback Thursday and post a bunch of artwork that's not always available on other platforms. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, check out my playlists tab, my discussion tab, and stay groovy, and we'll see you later. Bye.